Okay, so what I wanted to do was a follow-up video to the video I posted a while back ago about my honest review of this car, which is a 2009 Carrera S, 911 Carrera S, in manual form. And in that video, I kind of explained how I was going through quite a bit of, I don't know, buyer's remorse, if you want to call it that. I wasn't really enjoying the car because I was stressing out about all the issues, the potential issues that could arise with um, this particular model. And I think a lot of it was me being me, which is a little bit hypersensitive to things. Also, I was going through a bunch of stuff on a personal level, so that was stressing me out a little bit. So long story short, I wanted to do an update because I did a bunch of mods, and I feel like this car is finally being the vehicle that I was hoping. But I still have some thoughts on this car. Overall, I do like it, but to get it to this state, it took quite a bit of work and quite a bit of money. So for the folks that have not seen that first video, I bought the car from the East Coast, Long Island, New York. I feel like I paid a little bit too much for it. Probably, in my mind, I paid probably about 10 grand more than I should have. But I was kind of like, it's the car that I want. It had super low mileage, so I went ahead and just impulsively purchased it. And I bought it from a Porsche dealership, and with that, I thought it would inherently have a bunch of stuff already worked on, which it didn't. And it's no different than buying it from a private seller. There's a bunch of things that were wrong with the car from the very get-go. The brakes squealed like crazy. It was like way too low. One of the shocks was blown out. So the first few months of owning this car was extremely stressful, and it was not enjoyable at all. Plus the car itself, when driving it, when I actually drove it, it wasn't enjoyable because the brakes squealed. I had to watch every little thing I was going over. I wasn't super familiar with the car, stressing out about, bore scoring and all this other stuff about warming up the car correctly and stuff like that. So I had to whittle away and dial in this car like you would not believe. I spent so much time and money on working on this car, first and foremost with the brakes. Then I raised up the car. The other thing about this car was that it just sounded super weak. It was not a loud, enjoyable, like from an auditory perspective. It just wasn't something that exhilarated me. And this is in comparison to the 928 that I have, a 1985 928, a Euro spec version, which is pretty raw. It's a cat delete, so that in comparison was so much more enjoyable. I keep on looking underneath because I gotta make sure this video is still recording. So long story short, I got the Fister hack. I had a whole plan of things, of modifications that I wanted to do with the car. Originally, I did not want to modify this car at all. I wanted to just leave it stock, keep it that way, but I just could not deal with just how subdued and soft it was, for lack of a better word. So I got the Fister hack. I did a bunch of research on that. I got that done with Darren Fister. He's actually local to where I work, so I was able to just take my mufflers in and get it done. I did a bunch of bore scoring analysis, and more or less I feel confident with it. I'm still, maintaining it. The other thing I did was, again, this is all in an effort to make this car feel more alive, more connected, more raw. And this is from a 911, a 2009 911. A 997.2 that everyone is saying is the car to get. So I got new engine mounts um, from Redline. I used the blue one, which is the middle stiffness. I got transmission mounts or transmission inserts. Those were, I used the yellow ones, which is the softest setting. And then now it's finally sounds, I mean, better. It doesn't sound still nearly as good as I think it should, but it sounds better. Um, yeah, there's definitely more NVH, but it's totally like something that I wanted in the car. I don't think I'll get annoyed by it if I do a long drive or anything like that. If anything, I kind of wish it was like deeper and louder. The other thing I did was I bought a DCS suspension module. Again, that's like $1,300. And the reason I did that was I fixed that blown shock that I had. I built signs, aftermarket shocks to I didn't do it myself. It came with the car. So the thing that I could never do was use the sport mode and the PASM, active dampening or whatever. I could never use it in sport mode because it was just super stiff. Like when I say stiff, I don't mean like I can't handle stiffness. It just was bouncy. It was like unbearable in that regard. It was just like constantly bouncing on relatively smooth tarmac. So I could never use the sport mode. So I would always have to use the sport throttle response, which I like, and then switch off the PASM, which to me conceptually was annoying because I want to be able to use all the features of this car. Now on top of all that, there was a bunch of little things that were wrong with the car that I had to fix, like just, this, that, and the other. So I had to square all that away, like rattles in the car, I square that away. The seat, some of the features on the seats didn't work. I squared all that away. So finally now, it is where I was hoping that this car would be at. And so everything is working. The DCS suspension model was definitely something that was worth it. I can feel a difference. I can use both modes. And I'm finally able to just enjoy this car. But it took quite a bit. And so it's still, I don't think, what it's all cracked up to be. And so that kind of leads into what I feel about your modern day 911 owner. And at the risk of losing channel members, I see a difference between the 911 owners on my channel and the 928 owners on my channel. Like I started this channel with my 928 and it was a good experience. The viewers would comment. I would never get a negative comment whatsoever in any way. Like it was, if anything, it was just kind of like, it was an odd comment, but never like in a negative tone. The only time I started getting negative comments were from when I introduced this car. And a lot came after that review, the honest review. And it was just like my honest review. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not making you watch this. And what was so funny about it was like, people were upset. And then as I watch more and more 911 content, I just get this sense of your typical owner of a 911. And I'm going to say water-cooled 911, not air-cooled. Because I lived the life of an air-cooled 911 owner, like long time ago. I had two different ones. And I was on the forums and I had an understanding of that community. This new community of 911 owners, there's no other way to say it. They're kind of douchebags, right? Like very douchey. And it's just like the bizarrest thing. Like, and when you watch 911 content, it is like, to me, there's a subtle difference And the more I recognize it, the more obvious it is. It's like, it's all about the look. It's all about the like whatever, the one up, you know, one doing one better, or that's the one to get. You should get that one. For example, it's like, this is ridiculous, but like, this is not anything in particular, but about getting it. But like, you know, like the crest on the crest center cap on a wheel, like the bottom tip has to point towards the valve, like just stuff like that, like as if that would matter if it wasn't. Like that, there would be 911 owners that would be embarrassed about that for one reason or another. And so to me, it's all about this like look. So, for example, if you watch some of the content or people who are specifically kind of highlighting 911, especially the water cooled 911, the 997.2 and higher, 996 owners, not so much, right? I should clarify that. So 996 owners, they kind of have this what's the word? They're always defending their car because everyone thinks that their cars are ugly. So they have this like a different kind of like tone to them. But the 997 dots 2 and up, especially the 991, the 992, all those owners, it's like all about the look, the this, the that. It's not about the driving, because I think the cars are becoming too numb, and it's not. So it's no longer about the driving. It's no longer about the car and like performance of the car. It's about the little like stupid stuff, like how it looks or this and that, whether it's full leather or whether you got the leather stitching or the different color stitching, or the seatbelts. That's like to get colored seatbelts is like the most ridiculous thing, I think, to waste money on. And anyway, so you look at some of these channels, and it's like they make these choices on like solely based on looks. And I'm not saying I'm not into the looks of a car, right? What I'm saying is, if you're making it solely based on that, that's kind of like douchey to me. If you're a driver, like, you know, car enthusiast in the sense of like driving the car, if you're a car enthusiast in the sense of like showing the car, I guess that's one thing. But these cars are to be driven, and that's my thing. So, and it started like, this started dawning on me based on the comments that I was getting from what I assumed were the 911 owners or the 911 wannabes. And these were these guys that were like commenting on my channel and just saying just stupid stuff or sarcastic stuff that just wasn't adding any value to me. I don't know, to the channel. I don't really care about the channel, but like, if you're gonna say something and it's ridiculous, I'll respond and then I'll just delete your comment because it's pointless. Oh, what's the use of that? So, and now 928 owners, they're unique, but totally different attitude. A lot older crowd. You have kind of like 928 owners that have like a superiority kind of complex because they, you know, once they figure out the car, they feel like they're, you know, superior. So they're kind of cocky. But you get that in all different forms. But they're way different. I'm going to tell you that right now. And so, I don't know. I don't know if other people see this or not, but to me, like, that's the other thing. I have no desire, not that they're asking, but I have no desire to hang out with other 911 owners. At least the water-cooled 911, 997 generation up. Because they're just lame, man. And I'm sure it's just like a pissing contest. Like, what do you got? You know, like, oh, you got that, or your center caps aren't pointing in that direction. It's like, who cares, dude? And then I don't know how many people lower their cars, and they put spacers and they lower the car because they want it to look a certain way. And like, it just boggles my mind. It's like, okay, I get it, but like, first and foremost, give a reason as to why you're doing that in terms of performance and handling. And then you can say, it looks awesome. But to lower the car where you're scraping the bottom or you're having to like watch every, dip or whatever, that's not functional. I mean, you can't, what's the point of that? It's literally like just to show other people. Anyways, so that's my little gripe about um, owning this car. Now, I do enjoy it when I can hammer on it. It is something that I get way more exhilaration from, in the sense of like overall speed and how it handles. So it's much better, you know, much better than my 928. I mean, it's so many years more advanced, but um, in hindsight, knowing everything that I know now, I don't think it's necessarily worth the price that's going. It's only worth it because other people are buying it at that price, but it's not worth it to me that it's at that price range that it's currently at. I don't know if it's dipped or not, who knows, but it's only worth this price because other people value it. It's like, paintings and whatnot. I don't value the painting per se. It's what other people are willing to pay for it. And so, same thing with this car. I think that, to me, it's not worth what I paid for it at all. But the fact that it's worth this much for other people, that's fine. And, I kind of wonder about whether other owners that have this car, that, I mean, I'm sure, unless they're the first and only owner, or the one owner vehicle, like you gotta have to have had the same issues that I've had, I would think, if not worse. And so I'm wondering if, like, are you guys going through all these little things? I can't imagine, because like you're probably just worried about how it looks, or lowering it or something like that. Like I don't know. I guess because I'm not seeing that content on the channels. I'm not seeing this like level of like worrying about the performance or worrying about things working. It's all about like upgrading, this or that for the look, like getting that bumper or getting it to look like a GT3, or it's like, it's never about the performance, it seems like. So that being said, I do plan on upgrading this vehicle a little bit more, or modifying it. My next thing I'm looking at, I think, will be possibly a new steering wheel. Again, maybe not because of the performance, but because of the fact I don't like the way the steering wheel looks. I guess that's kind of hypocritical, but I don't like the way it looks. I think a more clean Momo wheel would be ideal. I think there's a Mod 7 or something like that it's called. It's like, down the road I want to put a limited slip differential, if there is one for the 997.2. I heard there isn't one, but I'll have to do some research on that. Much more down the road, I'm planning on hopefully getting new wheels. I'd like to get the BBS LMs, it turns out, but I think they're super expensive. So that's something much more down the road. I think other than that, that's pretty much it. I might work on some things with the dials. The dials on the center cluster here, they have damage to the plastic. So I'd like to figure out how to either replace that or buff it out somehow. And then I might take it on track. I like to take this car on track to see its limits. So I'm planning on doing that at some point, maybe this summer. A couple of road trips I'd like to take, like longer road trips, maybe down to LA, Southern Cal, that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Just like to see how the car drives, or how the whole experience is. shifter. That was huge. Not that the shifter was in particularly like bad, the stock one, but again, it was just in my effort to get this car to be more raw. I probably didn't need to do that, but I am glad I did it. It was great. I do like upgrading or focusing on touch points like the shifter, steering wheel, steering feel, obviously. So those things I think are important too.